Hello and welcome to Tech24, your weekly dose of digital news, but minus the jargon. I'm Rebecca Bowring. Coming up in the programme, the joy of reading for the digital age. We crack out our Kindles and ask whether the e-book could turn the page on paperbacks forever. Will Robert Gibbs soon be Mark Zuckerberg's best friend? Well, Facebook's in talks with Obama's former press secretary over a possible job with the social network. More on that coming up in our news wrap. And as with every week, Eric OLANDER from France24.com is with me in the studio with the ABC of e-book readers.
Well, e-readers are now more popular than ever. I'll have a breakdown of the most popular devices.
So, we are talking this week about the electronic book and how it's changing our reading habits in the 21st century. You may not realise it, but the first ever e-book actually came out in 1971, and it was a digitised version of the American Declaration of Independence. Well, 3 decades later, you can now get your hands on some 33,000 titles free. Thanks to Project Gutenberg, it's the world's largest digital library. However, many e-books are payable, and along with e-book readers, they're turning into something of a goldmine. By 2013, in the US alone, the industry will be worth over $2.5 billion. Eric, let's first talk about why we would choose to read an e-book over a classic paper book or hardback.
Couple different reasons. Number one, cost. A hardback sometimes can be up to 30 euros for a new cover, a new book, whereas on an e-reader device like this is the Kindle, it's $9 or $10, about 12 or 13 euros sometimes depending on the title. There is some flexibility in pricing. Most importantly, though, is the convenience. One of the key things about having a Kindle is you can hold it with one hand. You don't have to turn the page with two hands, and it's very easy to be able to access it. Now imagine if you're commuting and holding, in the subway line or on a bus, also at home with babies and kids, holding it with one hand is very convenient. So the convenience, the speed, and the cost are very important.
And sometimes the added extras too. I was reading you can also get your hands on memorabilia that are attached to that book by reading an e-book. They're all integrated into it.
Absolutely.
There's a bit more to it.
Yeah, so there's attachments, there's accessories, there's lights, there's different features that go with it, and so you can customize it to your liking.
And what about for authors? Because it's really opening up possibilities for people who want to get published, who maybe can't find a publishing house to do it for them.
Well, just what iTunes has done for music, where it's broken the hold of the recording industry in many respects, because anybody can upload to iTunes. At the same time, you now can publish your own ebook, and you don't need to go through the traditional publishing route. So a lot more opportunity for authors is available now to get their work to an audience and actually get paid for it.
Let's have a little look now at how the market for e-readers you've been talking about has been developing in the US. So e-readers are the devices that we use to display the text of an e-book. At the end of last year, there were two heavyweights battling it out. Amazon's Kindle had 47% of the market share and the iPad 32%, coming up hot on its heels. And in fact, the iPad has taken quite a bite out of Kindle's market share.
Well, it has, but it also hasn't. Remember that Kindle's also available on the iPad and also on the iPhone as well. So a lot of us, myself included, we read Kindle on the iPad. So in some ways, it hasn't taken that much out of Kindle's market share. One could say that the iBook, which is Apple's software, hasn't taken off in the same way that they expected, in part because Kindle is available on those platforms.
Now, the global market doubled in 2010, and in fact 80% of that was in the US, only 10% here in Europe, surprisingly, but in fact that monopoly is likely to be broken down by around 2014. So what will the devices like the Kindle look like by the time that comes around? They won't be able to do the same things as they can do today. They'll be a lot more advanced.
There'll be a lot more variety. Right now we have, lots of rectangles that are out there. Books are going to start coming in all sorts of shapes and sizes and colors. You'll be able to customize them with different patterns and whatnot. But most importantly, you're going to start to see the ebook spread into new markets. Think about academia, schools, no longer carrying around big textbooks, spending 60, 70, 80 euros on a textbook. Also think of law and medicine, engineering. These are very book-intensive professions that will be consolidated down to one simple tablet.
Now, for his predictions, we spoke here on Tech24 to Bruno Rive. He is an ebook blogger and head of Tebaldo. That's a firm that monitors various technological trends here in France. Here's what he had to say.
We will have artificial intelligence in the book itself, so the book will know the reader, the human reader, so it will be able to adapt to the reader. For instance, if you don't know nothing about Renaissance, for instance, the book will figure out that you don't know something, and it will bring more details for you. You will have obviously 3D vision, so sometimes you will have objects or even video pop up from your book.
Well, in a few moments, Eric Olander is going to give us a guide to some of the best ebook readers out there. But first, let's get our tech news roundup, and we start with a potential career move for one US official from the White House to Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg is courting Robert Gibbs, so says the New York Times. The former White House press secretary could join the Facebook team as its new communications guru. The social network's interested in hiring Gibbs ahead of its 2012 stock market flotation. Work on Obama's re-election campaign or plump for a slice of the Facebook cake? The choice is Gibbs's. The internet has lost one of its founding fathers. Paul Baran has passed away aged 84. His technology helped form ARPANET, precursor to the World Wide Web. He came up with the idea of putting data in small packages and sending them through a network. GeekSpeak's made it into the Oxford English Dictionary, and these web abbreviations aren't as new as one might think. OMG, or Oh My God, has been found in a letter dating from 1917. Meanwhile, LOL, or Laugh Out Loud, used to mean Little Old Lady back in 1960. The rules on microblogging in Britain's House of Commons just got a bit clearer. Smartphones and iPads should be allowed into the chamber, a committee has said, just as long as tweeting doesn't compromise, quote, decorum. It's now time to talk gadgets here on Tech24. And Eric, carrying on with this e-book theme, you have some readers to show us.
Well, there's basically two major ones in the marketplace. There's the Amazon Kindle, and the Amazon Kindle was, of course, the first that broke the market open. This was the one who pioneered the whole electronic reading market in such a large, mainstream, mass way in the United States. Then the iPad came along, and this was also very important with iBook, and that's the iBook software that we talked about earlier.
And that's the iPad 2?
That's the iPad 2 that just came out last week, so we're very excited to take a look at this. Now, there's some key differences that you can see on these two devices. One is size. This is a much smaller device. Amazon does make a larger one, but a lot of people prefer this small paperback device because of what we talked about earlier, that it's easy to hold. Another key difference is you see the screen. One is very, very shiny, one is matte. So it's very, very easy to read on the eyes with the matte screen, especially when you're in daylight and also in the sunshine and at the beach. This is a little bit harder to read, and this backlit makes it tough to read for a long, extended period of time. But also this backlit light here allows you to read at night, where this is much more difficult. So
you have to buy an extra backlight for the Kindle. Now, of course, the Kindle is dedicated to reading ebooks, whereas the tablet, the iPad, does all sorts of other things. Which one do you prefer and why?
Well, everybody thought when the iPad came out that it would be the Kindle killer. Well, what's actually happened is a lot of people are returning back to the Kindle as a dedicated reading device because there's a lot of distractions that occur when you're on the iPad. You want to check your email. Someone starts chatting you. You want to check news. You want to do all these different things. When you're reading this, you just focus on reading. So that's the big advantage. If you're a dedicated
bookworm, choose the Kindle.
This is what people are using.
Many thanks for your expertise, Eric Olander, and that brings us to the end of this edition of Tech24. Many thanks to you for being with us. Do catch this show again and many others on our website, www.france24.com. You can fan us on Facebook and do also follow us on Twitter at TechF24. We've just time now to leave you with our video of the week, and Nick Patera is a Pixar employee who just so happens to love, above all things, Disney movies. And in this clip you can see him singing all the parts and interacting with himself. It's a medley of songs from films such as The Lion King and The Little Mermaid. A clip that he posted on YouTube back in 2007 singing a song from Aladdin has now racked up more than 23 million hits. A career in musical theatre seems to beckon, so enjoy that. We'll see you again next week here on Tech24.
Now sing.